Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. This is probably going to be a short one, which is probably a good thing after last week's epic 2-hour-long extravaganza. What have I got to talk about? Not a lot. A couple of things. One is YouTube changes. They've made some changes, some of which you will be aware of and some which you might not yet be, because I'm not sure if they've come into action. Anyway, the change of layout. Some people have opted into it, some haven't. Bit of shameless self-promotion here. I'm going to swing the camera around. I've opted for the new layout on all of my channels now, and I'm rather pleased with it. And I just thought, well, I'll show you all of my channels, because I know lots of you know that I have 4 channels, but some of you may not. So I'm going to show them to you and the new layout and stuff. Yeah. So this is the channel that you're watching at the moment. New banner, you may be familiar with that. I don't know how many people even go to the front page of the channels that they follow. But the layout is good, partly because of this section here, which lets you promote your friends. Because you've got this shuffle thing here. You click that and it will shuffle who appears in this list. If you click see all, just there, it'll show you all the people who might appear in there. It's a lot of people, and it shuffles them automatically, so you don't have to keep doing it yourself. And you can also list who you subscribe to, which in my case it won't list everyone because it's over 200 people. But anyway, it's good for promoting other people. This bit, related channels, you can disable this so that it won't list these people, and frankly I don't know who any of these channels are, and they don't seem to be particularly related to anything I'm doing. But there is a good reason to keep this enabled, because you will appear in other people's related channels thing. So the theory goes. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But there it is. It's worth doing. Anything that might promote your channel, it's worth keeping it enabled. It certainly doesn't do any harm to have them there. Yeah, so obviously you can put all... I've shown all this before, so I won't go into too much detail. Recent activities is very worth doing if included in your recent activities is likes, videos that you like. If you click like on it, it will appear here. There is also the option of having a section like this that is specifically just likes, videos that you've liked, but I found that doesn't keep updated properly and it's a bit rubbish. So I just have likes appear in recent activities, and it is good because it will promote other channels, and that's always a good thing. So that is that. Another of my channels that a lot of you will be familiar with is my Benway's World channel. I'm very pleased with that banner. You will subscribe. Same as everything I just showed you there. Different playlists. Playlists are very handy to have, because if you try and like click videos there and just see all the videos, it's very limiting, particularly on my main channel where I've got over 1,300 videos. There's no way of skipping back through pages, so playlist, well worth having. Then we get onto the stuff that you might not all be familiar with. Isambard Montague he's had this layout for a little while now. With that banner, it's all a bit nothingy. Yeah, political satire, supposedly funny, not everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes even I don't think he's that funny, but I enjoy doing him. He's just such an obnoxious, arrogant bastard. Horrible, but it's what he represents. It's fun to do. And then my most recent channel, again, new layout. I just did this week. Sorting out the banner and trying to make it look halfway decent is not easy, but there it is. New video put up there a couple of days ago, playing Frontline Commando D-Day badly. Yeah, for those of you who are not familiar with this channel, it is basically what I do on this, my main channel, but playing Android games badly, so you can see what they look like. And I'm actually really quite enjoying it at the moment. I have found, now this flows into my next topic, actually. It's what made me think of it. I've been a little bit, I won't say jaded. I don't really like the control methods that you're forced to use on a lot of Android games because it's touchscreen. And if you need something that requires fast responses or whatever, or it's a fast moving game, touchscreen is rubbish. It just plain don't work. But I have found a game or a type of game on there that the gameplay is slow but very compelling and has actually quite complex controls, and it lends itself perfectly to touchscreen. That will be I've got two games that describes one of them, and it will be coming up sometime next week. And it's just having these multiple controls mapped onto the screen. It would be hard to do it another way. I suppose you could do it on a multi-button joypad or with a computer keyboard, but it would be a bit, you'd have to remember what each one does, where you look at the screen and it's glaringly obvious. And it's the first time I've been impressed by a game that has no controller. You know, I've been really moaning like hell for months, years, about the whole touchscreen system that they use on Android pads and phones and blah blah, and saying it's rubbish, I don't want anything to do with that. And here I am, I found this game and I think it's absolutely perfect. What it got me thinking about was special controllers, because I mean a touchscreen is about the most minimalist controller you can possibly have, because there is no controller. I would always prefer to have a joypad given the option on most games. But it got me thinking about games that I played more in the arcades than at home, that had a special controller or some aspect of the cabinet that made the game brilliant. And I kind of got to thinking, is that game, is it the cabinet or the controller that makes the game? If you took away the controller, would that still be a good game? Because here is this Android game that I've got that has no controller whatsoever and is fantastic. That has to be the best example I can think of a really well designed game. So you've got these arcade cabs with all the fancy gubbins and they're great, but if you take away the gubbins, is it still a good game? And I sat and had to think about various different arcade cabs and what are they like without that controller, like the home versions, if it's a good conversion. The one that comes to mind first is the R360, which is that gyroscopic, whopping great big rolls around, throws you all over the place cabinet for, and a lot of people think it was Afterburner, but it's not, it's G-Lock. Now, I've never been in the R360, and I'll be honest with you, I've never played G-Lock, but I read quite a few reviews of both. And I think it's got to be the best example of the cabinet's fantastic, but as soon as you take it away and just have a yoke controller or give it a joypad on a home console, and it's not very good. It's like it's all cabinet and not much game. I wish I played it. I wish I could actually describe my own first-hand experience on that one, but I have no first-hand experience of either. But I think a lot of people might agree. I'm going to say might because some people might not. Yeah, probably the best example of the controller is more important than the game. For me, when it comes to first-hand experience, the best well, Star Wars Arcade. It is a fantastic game in its own right, but you have to have the controller. And I don't think with that game it's actually a case of the controller is better than the game, because the game is brilliant. I play it with a mouse and I love it, but without that fancy controller you just can't control it properly, so it doesn't play quite right. Yeah, it is one of those, the controller, the proper real yoke control is essential, but it's not the controller that makes it fun. It just means you can control the game properly. So, it's not really it doesn't really come into the category I'm describing, or talking about or whatever, if you know what I mean, because I'm rambling. Driving games, the force feedback steering wheel, there's a thing. The first time I came across a game with a force feedback steering wheel was Hard Driving, the arcade cabinet, sit down cabinet, gear lever, accelerator, brake, clutch, and the force feedback wheel. The accelerator, brake and clutch, fine, no problem. Even back then when I didn't drive, I didn't have a problem with that. But I had a big problem with the force feedback on it because I don't think it was really very realistic. It would overstate its case, so to speak. You would turn and it would push back against you, which I suppose is meant to be emulating the wheel weighting up, which on some cars happens in the real world. I can't say I've ever noticed it happen on mine, but it would weight up and you'd have to push a bit harder and a bit harder, and then it would kick and spit you off the road basically. And I think I know what it was trying to represent, but I didn't like it. That was your tyres letting go, and you will go into understeer and fly off the road. But it didn't feel real, it didn't feel realistic, it felt like a very artificial hindrance and prevented you being able to play the game properly, where I can play that on pretty much arcade perfect not MAME, Sega Saturn, PS2 versions of the game. Actually one of them is race driving on the Saturn, but anyway, really good conversions of the game. Play them with a joypad, and you have the whole, your tyres will let go and you'll lose traction and you'll understeer. But you can keep it under control, because what you don't get is the wheel kicking back and turning the other way. So basically when your tyres do grip, your wheels are pointing in the wrong direction. It doesn't do that. So yeah, it was a very, very clever system, but I felt actually the controller, which was the whole cabinet, was detrimental to the game. Whereas Ridge Racer, love it, absolutely. It's a weird one actually. I mean, I played Ridge Racer in the arcades. It wasn't it was a stand-up cabinet, but there was no clutch, was there, that I recall? But it had the force feedback and it had a little bit of a kick in it, but it wasn't as extreme and it wouldn't just throw you off the road in the same kind of way. And it worked, and it really added something to the experience when you were playing it. It gave you that rush of adrenaline. And it's curious because yes, but playing the arcade game was a more intense experience than playing it on the PS1. But playing it on the PS1, I think the handling is pretty much the same. But it is a bit easier because you're not fighting the wheel. And I find it equally brilliant. It's different. Playing it on the PS1, it's less aggressive. You're playing the game, but you're not fighting the controller. It doesn't feel like it's gonna. There it is. You're on the PS1. You are racing against the other cars, whereas with the arcade cabinet, you're fighting against the wheel or the cabinet or the controller or whatever, as much as you are racing the other cars. It adds an element of aggression because you just want to punch the damn thing and say, stop fighting me and let me race. Exciting, but it's just as if you just want to race the cars, play the PS1 version. It's different. I couldn't say either one is better. One is certainly more intense. But do you want to fight or do you want to race? That might sound a little over dramatic, but it's kind of what it was like. Afterburner 2, that had a force feedback joystick. And this was another one. It was intense in a way that playing it on a home system isn't. And I think actually the force feedback nature of it isn't what was the most important thing about it. You need that joystick to really get the best out of the game, not because of the force feedback and the intensity of it and the real kick in the pants nature and energy and everything that it had, but you need it because no home version of it is really controllable, whether it's analog pads or whatever. I mean, yeah, you've got the Mega Drive version, but it's just not authentic. You point that plane in a direction or put the crosshair somewhere on the screen and it stays there. That's not how the arcade game was. You need self-centering, but you need a lot of movement in the stick, and you don't get that on home consoles, and so your accuracy goes out the window. Little bit of movement on your analog stick or nub or whatever, and your crosshairs right the way across the screen, and it's very hard to get an accurate aim at the enemy planes. So yeah, the force feedback nature of it gave the intensity, but it is one of those where you take away that and the game is not as good. You can still have a very intense experience on the 32X or on the Saturn or whatever you're playing it on, but you lose the accuracy, and I've never played a home version of it where you really did feel you had it under control. Other, I mean, trackball games, Marble Madness, Centipede, Millipede, yeah, they're kind of, you can actually get away with playing them without the trackball, and they're quite playable. So I don't think they're not one of those where the cabinet or the controller is as important or more important or better than the game kind of thing. It's a curious one. Light gun games, oh yeah. Operation Wolf, absolutely. That you can play it with a mouse, and it's probably actually as easy, if not easier, using a mouse, say on MAME or whatever. Playing it with a joypad, yeah, that just doesn't work. It really doesn't. I've played it on, what have I played it on? Was it the Master System? I think so. Awful. Yeah. But in the arcade with that force feedback gun that was rattling away. And then another one very similar is Terminator 2, the arcade game. That had a light gun in the arcades, and I loved that. I played that to hell. I did actually have a halfway decent version of that on the Mega Drive that worked with the Menacer light gun. Originally I had it, and when I first got it, I played it with the joypad. And again, I think light gun games played with a D-pad, really, really ropey. If you play them with a light gun, and they're brilliant, the Menacer on that, and it's the same with, what is it, Time Crisis. You've got to have the gun. But of course light guns are something you can have in the home, so yeah, they can stand up to their arcade originals to some degree. And modern light guns are really accurate. Well, I'm not so sure about on really modern stuff now. I mean, the PS2 was Time Crisis, and I have to play that on a cathode ray tube TV because it won't work on my LCD, because light guns generally don't. They've got around that with things like the Wii Mote, and I suppose they do that kind of thing with the Move and the Kinect. I don't have any, well, I've got the Wii, but I don't play that. And I haven't got any gun type games with that to say whether it's any good or not. Have I? Don't know. Yeah, okay, I'm losing the plot anyway. So, yeah, I suppose the conclusion I've come to really is I haven't. Sometimes the really, really fancy controller, the controller is more important than the game, but not always. Wow, wasn't that mean? Actually, now I think about it, I've got a force feedback steering wheel up in my loft, and I should bring it down and hook it into my PS2. I don't know if it'll work with my PS3. I could put a USB adapter on it and try and plug that in. I bought it to go with Gran Turismo 4. I bought it on the day that Gran Turismo 4 came out. And I thought this will be epic. And it is kind of interesting because it's got these arms on it. You can basically sit it on your lap, and it clamps, holds your legs, if you like. You put it on your lap, and these arms go down the side of your legs, so you can just sit. I'm sitting here doing the wheel movements, and you can't see because it's not on screen. Yeah, you don't have to have a table in front of you, which was really good, except that the pedals would just scoot across the floor because they were too light and there was nothing to hold them in place. I'm going to have to dig that out again, because it occurred to me I've got a laminated floor in the games room. I'll just put blue tack on them. or maybe even gaffer tape. Keep the pedals in place. But what I found with this, apart from the awkward pedals, and I don't know if even it would do full throttle when I put my foot right down. I don't think it ever fully gave it all the throttle that it was meant to. I was actually faster with a joypad. There was a real buzz out playing Gran Turismo with a force feedback steering wheel. It was exciting, but in terms of accuracy and being able to put in a good lap, it made me a lot slower. Sometimes a really fancy controller can be very detrimental. But I suppose I haven't come to a real conclusion, but I find it an interesting thing to ponder and look at the various different games and the controllers they've got and think, yeah, what would that be like without the fancy controller? But this Android game, it'll be coming up next week. Those of you who are not familiar with where I'm doing those videos, playing Android badly. I'm going to put links down there to all of my other channels for anyone who's interested. But there is a game coming up on that Android thing that is just, it's touchscreen, but it's really, really brilliant, and I really like it. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to wait and see, and you'll have to go and see the video on my other channel to know what the hell I'm talking about. There you go. Right, I do have a shout out, so let me swing the camera around again. Right, what we have here is TRexSpaceStation, which is an incredible concept in itself, with the T-Rex with his head poking out of a space station. And what you get here are gameplay videos with commentary. There's a lot of Mega Drive here. It's not all Mega Drive. We've got some Xbox 360, DOS games, or 360, PC. Yeah, good variety. PC, Mega Drive, and I don't know what else, to be honest. He's been doing this not a very long time by the look of it. 3 weeks ago is the first video there. I'm sure he's been doing it longer than that. I'm sure I've been haven't I been subscribed longer than that? I don't know. Anyway, I like his style. He plays the game and he talks while he plays it. And it's not, are his playing skills incredibly epic? I don't know. Possibly not, but there's no, he does what I like watching. He plays the game and he talks about it, and it's not all about the player, it's just his impressions of the game in a very relaxed, down-to-earth manner. You know what I like by now, and that's what he's doing. He's also, for the first time here, 3 days ago, gets on screen and he does a pickup video, and it's nice to see his face, because it's always nice to know who you're listening to. Very pleasant chap. There's not an awful lot else I can say about it, just that this is the kind of channel that I watch. I enjoy watching. I subscribed as soon as I saw his channel. One subscribe? Surely not. I struggle to believe that. One subscribe. Right, seriously, worth subscribing to. Well, that's got to be me, hasn't it? Okay, there you go, TRexSpaceStation. Well worth a look. Check him out. If you like him, subscribe, because I personally find his videos very enjoyable. They're very relaxed. They're very, what you see is what you get. No nonsense. Gameplay and commentary. Brilliant. Turning around now. Okay, what have we got coming up? Ain't got a clue, is the short answer. I have been wanting to do some Atari 2600 games with Andrea, but we just keep not managing to find the time to do that. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm just kind of randomly picking games out. Randomly. Yeah, I ain't got a clue. You know, gameplay and random mindless waffle. Plenty of that. Other than that, nah, I ain't got a clue. I know there are lots of things I should do, lots of things people would like me to do. At the moment I'm struggling to get anything done. So, yeah, I'll shut up. I ain't got a clue. Can't string a sentence together, and even if I could, stuff. Okay, thank you for watching.